So today I wanted to talk a little bit about the Constitution of the United States. So I think that the Constitution of the United States of America is a remarkable document, and its impact on the nation which espouses it is profound. In many ways, we could say that life in America, specifically in modern America, derives its vitality from the Constitution. However, I would point out that the actual specifics of how the Constitution influences our lives is really a matter of the rubber meeting the road. Or in other words, it's a matter that takes the form of many specifics and many particular details. So I think that in order for us to understand and comprehend the true role of the Constitution of the United States in American life, we have to look past, or perhaps look through, the obscurity of partisan politics. So one important observation about the Constitution is that it does not include any provision for a partisan or for a two-pronged political system. I mean to say that the development and tradition of American political parties in the United States is not constitutionally required. It's not a requirement. We don't have to have a two-party system. And so while political parties are not unconstitutional, there is the potential for purity in regards to the seats that compose the actual government of America, which would lead to a form of government that was actually controlled by the will of the people instead of the will of one of two major political mechanisms. So I think that we would do well to understand a little bit about the role of the Constitution. So this is a quote from about the Constitution. It says, "The Constitution is not a law, but it empowers the people to make laws. The Constitution tells us what shall not be lawful tender. The legislature has ceded to us the privilege of enacting such laws as are not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States. The different states and even Congress itself have passed many laws that are diametrically contrary to the Constitution of the United States. Shall we be such fools as to be governed by its laws, which are unconstitutional? No. The Constitution acknowledges that the people have all power not reserved to itself." So the Constitution is not necessarily a law to us, but it provides provision whereby we can make laws. Where it provides that no one shall be hindered from worshiping God according to his own conscience is law. So no legislature can enact a law to prohibit it. The Constitution provides to regulate bodies of men and not individuals. So I think that that's an important point to point out. I think that a lot of times we view the Constitution as if it was all the law within America. But when we talk about the Constitution, we're talking about upholding a standard of criteria for which to judge legislation that we then make and enact. And without all the legislation that's produced by the Congress, there is no law to regulate America. So the idea of the Constitution is a standard of criteria by which we can judge the constitutionality and the validity and the legitimacy of the laws that we do make. So along those lines, we might ask the question, so why is it important for us to understand that political parties are not a part of a constitutional framework? And so I would answer that having a political party amounts to establishing a government on top of a government. So the two major political parties have a vested interest in gaining seats of power, and to a large degree, that's what they're designed to do, is to gain seats of power. So when the production of legislation that's conducted by Congress is held in the hands of completely partisan interests, our laws become corrupt because they're not designed to benefit or to uplift or to enrich the lives of the people, but they are designed to secure seats of power and to continue a partisan system of government. So I think that to all appearances, the laws within America have already become corrupt to a certain degree. There's a certain level of corruption within the laws that have been passed within our country. So, but from all appearances, things could still get much worse. I would point out that we don't know what occurs in the back rooms of legislative halls. There are many back rooms and there are many halls. As a public, we simply don't know. However, it's certain that many things are said and many agreements are made by politicians, by those who occupy these seats of government. So these individuals are hardly independent actors. They are, in all reality, tied and connected to one of the two major political parties in very significant ways. Membership within a political party is not only an affiliation, it is also a means of funding, of raising money, and without that money, no seat of government can be maintained. So the necessity of competing and campaigning for political offices makes affiliation and allegiance to a major political party absolutely necessary. And in this regard, political parties become the government on top of the legitimate government. Now, I should say that I hardly think that the things that I've mentioned about political parties or the Constitution need to be pointed out. It isn't as if that's hidden knowledge. These things are well known and even commonly accepted. However, I think the fact that these things, that these political conditions are well known, is concerning in a deep way. Have we simply accepted the fact that select combinations of individuals, of judges, of lawyers, of congressmen, businessmen, lobbyists, etc., will strategize and plot for methods of obtaining control over large swaths of government? Are we fine with this? What do we expect to come from such a system? It's adversarial in its own right, to its very core. There's no genuine motivation for allegiance, people who are allegiant to political parties, to conduct themselves in bipartisan ways or to truly contemplate the benefit and prosperity of the people. There's no genuine incentive to find and elect the best, most honest, most competent, or most virtuous individuals. Instead, we're forced to drink from a shallow and polluted pool of compromised candidates. This was never the intention of the constitutional government that was established in the United States of America. This is not part of the Constitution. And so I would say to those who lay claim on the Constitution of the United States of America as a standard of liberty, I would say, awake, awake, put on thy strength, O Zion, put on thy beautiful garments, O Jerusalem, the holy city. For henceforth there shall no more come into thee the uncircumcised and the unclean. Shake thyself from the dust. Arise and sit down, O Jerusalem. Loose thyself from the bands of thy neck, O captive daughter of Zion. For thus saith the Lord, you have sold yourselves for naught, and you shall be redeemed without money. So these verses, which are taken from Isaiah 52, are actually interpreted in the Doctrine and Covenants as follows. What is meant by the command in Isaiah, which saith, put on thy strength, O Zion? And what people had Isaiah reference to? He had reference to those whom God should call in the last days, who should hold the power of the priesthood to bring again Zion and the redemption of Israel. And to put on her strength is to put on the authority of the priesthood, which she, Zion, has a right to by lineage, also to return to that power which she had lost. What are we to understand by Zion loosing herself from the bands of her neck? We are to understand that the scattered remnants are exhorted to return from where they have fallen, which if they do, the promise of the Lord is that he will speak to them again and give them revelation. The bands of her neck are the curses of God upon her, or the remnants of Israel and their scattered condition among the Gentiles. So in conclusion, I would simply say that we are at a point where we have begun to accept nefarious and pernicious conditions as if they were a matter of course, when in all reality, we have the opportunity and the ability to awake, to arise, to take responsibility, to take upon ourselves the mantle of the servants of God and of people who have been chosen to bring forth Zion, which is an actual civilization in the latter days. And again, in conclusion, I just also point out that there's no provision within the Constitution that requires or mandates political parties. So we do have many options ahead of us. And I think that many other things pertaining to our condition in these latter days can be said, and hopefully they will be said in the future as we chart a course through calamity and through chaos. But thank you for listening to my remarks.